evening, sir.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure to meet you once again after our brief interaction a couple months ago. And seeing you in your homely environment today gives me another impression of the Mr. Ifeanyi Okonkwo I used to know. You seems to be a very, very homely man, per se. I don't know if I'm correct, sir.
I don't think I will write a testimonial for you. You know better.
Wow, that's interesting. I mean, the environment, the background will go away to tell Anambra people that they have a homely man to deal with. No doubt about that. Sir, for formality's sake, we want you once again to introduce yourself so that our listeners and our viewers will know whom we are talking to.
My name is Ifeanyi Okonkwo. I am from Nobi in the Demili South Local Government Council area of Anambra State. I am the candidate of the Action Democratic Party in the November 18 governorship election in Anambra State.
Beautiful. Sir, the last time we met, I met you as a UPP candidate, United People's Party candidate, aspirant rather. Incidentally, today I am talking to a different Ifeanyi Okonkwo who is representing the Action Democratic Party. Please, will you want to tell us briefly what transpired within the short transition period?
It's very short story. One of the greatest problems we have is that when you don't actually seek solution to your problem by finding out why we have not done well. I believe one of the problems that Igbos have is that individually we have done very well, but collectively we have not been able to present a good front. And that is exactly what you need in politics. Politics is about constituency interest. After my outing in 2003, when I was delisted by the INEC in the 2003 election, I decided to be more active in human rights, corruption issue, environmental matters. I decided that one of the greatest problems we have is that every individual is in pursuit to outdo the other. Nobody wants to join any existing structure. Rather, we go and duplicate it, and with the same objective. So I felt that, notwithstanding my political sagacity, that in the last 28 years, I have run for governor of a state. And I humbled myself and joined the United Progressive Party, which was the party was midwifed by Dr. Chepa Sokoria. And I told him that we need to come together and see how we can reconstruct a bigger picture in Nigeria politics instead of scattering ourselves without actually having a proper focus on what we want to do, on how to serve our people. More so that I looked at the APGA as a party, which he also was the architect. That one basic thing was missing, that how can they in APGA deny to work with the man who had the vision for the party. I tried to share his views. I told him I am coming to join you so that we make this United Progressive Party stronger, and then it becomes a negotiating platform for a bigger, maybe reconciliation with APGA. That I have a credential of building something, and I can stoop to conquer. And he was so glad that I joined, and I suggested a few things to him that would help us move the party. That if you have an association, you must think fundamentally on how to fund it. And he was gracious enough to allow that membership must be by people who subscribe to payment of to be a member, so that we find a way that we can root out party corruption. So to that I gave him credit for that, and then I became the face of the party in Anambra State, because he cannot come to Anambra State to come and market UPP, because the people who actually took away APGA from him are from my constituency. So I decided to be the bridge, and having given APGA a new face, both within Anambra and because of my integrity, we were making progress, but philosophically we were two different people. So he had another view on how he wants to grow the party. And because I cannot come and be fighting him in his project, I decided to melt away and go and find a niche somewhere. Incidentally, I left a small party, and a bigger party was able to poach me because they saw that in this election the issue is integrity and somebody who can
credibility.
Present a platform that can build new leaders in Anambra State. So it was a love lost. I missed the agenda I had for UPP to help grow the party better. It's not my project, so I have to let go.
Well, now, November 18 is barely 1 month away from now. First of all, can you take a look back 3.5 years ago in Anambra State? Can you remember what the state was like? Can you try to encapsulate what the state is like today? Have you noticed changes? If yes, is it positive or negative, or has the status quo remained the same?
In summary, Anambra has not grown. Anambra has great potential, just like Nigeria. That people have been saying, oh, Nigeria has all the potential in the world, but why is it not growing? Because a leader is the person that owns the vision. It's the vision that you use to cultivate and look for the men and women that you can now project that vision. The last 3.5 years cannot be a milestone. The problem we've had in our Igbo parishes is not having team. And it's always a singular effort. We're the only people who are campaigning with Odumegwu Ojukwu legacy. We have not been able to have what I might call a template for political growth and mobilization. So the APGA leadership, I will encapsulate it from 2003. From 2006, when Peter Obi took over, it has been one-man show. Peter didn't have a team. They had a trading mentality. They were not thinking about the structure that will put the Igbos on the map. Let us look at 13 years backwards. There's no steel in the Southeast. There is no chemical industry in the Southeast. There is no system for us to grow the economy in the Southeast. And we have not been able to build new leaders. No election has been held. All we hear is that computers were bought in schools, that monies are being given to communities without a vision. And we need a leader that will mobilize the people, recognize the various talents that we have, and galvanize and have a project, the plan to develop and dominate Nigeria economically. There is no financial institution. The last 12 years, how can you grow and industrialize when your people who are not your friends are holding the finances? So where is the growth? New industries, new thinking. The private businessmen are suffering. The politicians became the new noble rich. And they will never allow growth in the economy. That's why there's so much unemployment. Because those in government we are stealing. And they are competing with those with ideas on how to grow businesses. So all these things are the problem I see. The man that is the governor of Anambra State, within the last 3.5 years, has been able to husband a minimum of 800 billion naira. There's nothing. They have not been able to multiply anything. They have not been able to put anything and grow it. I hear them talk about what they did in Oka. Oka has no master plan. I have never seen a flyover that will run across a federal highway, not a parallel to a federal highway, and then it's all parking signs and all these things. But I don't criticize those things because that is their mentality. It's the engineers that designed those flyovers that I will take to task, because it's not world standard. And look at the money they put in there, and they're telling you they're putting street lights and the rest. Look at the design of the road. The GPS is an instrument that will use us to help us to galvanize how we can develop our rural roads with linkages, so that all the 21 local governments and our neighboring states, we can key them into a beltway. Let's take for energy, for example. Our brother is the person who has been fortunate to snatch victory from the jaws of a lion, and he has the license for energy. That is the EEDC. What are our governors doing? Because they are so short-sighted, they are busy trying to compete, discourage him. What they have to do is to come and give him money and create opportunities that will have sub-leases or licenses to help other people who generate power and sell to him. And then all this power that he can buy it and distribute. Power is not something you can put in GP tank. The powers are there, but EEDC don't have the capital layout. And we as Igbos must make sure that we give them seed money so that they can compete and buy the power and then distribute to our place. But all you see is competition. The governors are not interested. So, and that's lack of leadership. Why I'm in this race is to provide leadership, to bring the competitive edge of bringing people together. You need a team leader, a man with the vision that will not be dwarfed by talents around them. All these people that you see are mediocres because they are afraid of bright people. We can't form a team. Is that the way we can play politics, the bigger politics in Nigeria? Look at what happened to us in the last maybe 2.5 years of agitations and the rest of them. And our leaders were so scared of this young man, Nnamdi Kanu.
I was coming to that.
And then look at another person like Owazurike. He's also a legend. These are people who have raised the Igbo consciousness in Nigeria. And the governors are so scared of them. So if we've been able to marry these individuals, we can produce more. How does a vehicle move? When the generation comes and you can funnel the smoke, it brings power. So the problem is that there's no synergy. We are walking in different directions, undermining each other. How can we compete in Nigeria? APGA, after this election is gone, they have been there for the last 12 years. They have not been able to move beyond the scope of Obunkani. We've passed that stage. Ojukwu is dead. Leave the man alone. They have not done any monument for the man. All they do is run around, this is Ojukwu. After election, they forget him. And I'm so sorry for the wife who is running around with them. Well, what can I do? In the absence of leadership, anything goes. So we need to re-engineer Igbo idea of how we will sustain growth in Nigeria.
Beautiful. I love the way you encapsulated that idea of our leaders not having been able to harness IPOB. But then, talk about IPOB, sir. Do you share their view of total cessation? Or will you kind of buy into the idea, which is very popular today in the Nigerian both political and economic atmosphere, which is restructuring? Would you have opted for total cessation as advocated by IPOB, or would it have been restructured, or do you have your another own personal agenda over the region issue?
Well, first of all, I will want you to recognize certain theories in history and other developments. What is the philosophy of Nnamdi Kanu? That's one thing, because the leader mobilizes people around his philosophy. The agitation that created Nnamdi Kanu is an offshoot from Uwazurike. It's the same family. It's agitation of marginalization because the politicians have failed to realize that politics is about constituency interests. Our politicians were doing politics as if it's a business enterprise, personal gain, and that created that not being able to harness our population, our intellectual capital, our economic capital, and the sagacity of our people to walk the hard road. So we did not do well in politics. So agitation, who marginalizes you? You must make a demand on the system. Igbos are not making demand on the system. We are walking around the system. Our politicians are not the stereos. The political parties are not agenda incubators. So when you come into politics and you go without an agenda, and this is the situation you find yourself in. So when you sit with the situation in Nigeria now, with how can Igbos, we have population. We have very good access to commerce and industry. We have a lot of people who are intellectually endowed. Why should we be complaining? We are complaining because we are not able to work out a formula on how to engage Nigeria. So when Nnamdi Kanu and his group came, I thought if I were, I'm in a position to, at that time, to embrace them, bringing in and refocus them and direct the education into the parliament rather than on the street, so that miscreants will not take over. So when miscreants took over, we lost the cord, the intellectuals ran away, so there was no way of now trying to wrestle that beautiful idea of creating and navigating Nigeria to discuss the Igbo issue. It was a failure of politics. So I'm looking at it from the standpoint that the younger elements in Igbo land, who are the intellectuals and the people who have made money, lost focus. We started getting into personal family problems, and we're not interested in community development. So what I wanted the Nigerian to look at is that the military have caused a great havoc in Nigeria. Because by 1963, we had a settled issue about Nigeria, that Nigeria is structured through federalism. That is settled as at 1963, when we had 4 regions and we had regional constitution. When the military came, they suspended some parts of the constitution. It was the same 1963 constitution that created the Nigerian military. So when they suspended some part of it, and they now merged the parliament with the executive power, and they were making laws, creating states so that they can stay in power. All these things, when they came back to now return power to the people in 1979, they pretended that Nigeria started in 1979. What they ought to have done, Obasanjo particularly, was to return us back to the 1963 constitution with an amendment. That is why Chief Awolowo refused to attend the constitutional